gasp and raise their cameras to their faces. Some even sprang to their feet. Joanna had decided not to take any pictures herself, but to buy the souvenir brochure at the end. That way, she'd miss nothing, and the photos would be 10 times better. She didn't want to spend this whole trip working out the best angles by which to remember it later. The curve towards the Pont des Invalides was gentle, the pace of the engines brisk, and she felt her excitement grow. "Look," she said, half to herself. "That must be the Tuileries up ahead. We're almost at the Louvre already." They'd been to the gallery yesterday, and the memory gave her a disquieting feeling, made her listen more closely on the words of the commentary. "Louis XVI, the storming of the Bastille, the guillotine's merciless blade, the Seine running red with blood." This last prompted Joanna, and several others, to peer down at the water in fear of some sinister transformation. But from the upper deck, even on a hot, thin day like today, the river was green-black, sucking the sunlight as if into the kind of depths found far out to sea. Were they travelling upstream or down? She had no idea. But you could see the infamous currents tussling below the surface, fast and evasive as eels. In a way, it was sinister. "Shall I get us something from the bar downstairs?" she asked Holly, coming up for air again. "An ice cream, maybe?" Holly shrugged. "I'm not hungry." "Then what about a cold drink?" She allowed a smidgen of impatience to rise. "Come on, Holes. Puck up a bit. We'll be back home the day after tomorrow, and you'll have missed all the fun." At last Holly's eyes connected with hers, and Joanna read the message in them as plainly as if in print. What's the point? It was not Holly speaking, she knew. It was the depression. But for once she wanted to defy the professional's advice and let her tongue work, unbitten. "Mikey's the point, you silly girl. Your son is the point, just as you were mine and still are mine, even if I hardly recognize you anymore." But she couldn't do that. Of course she couldn't. "Right," she said brightly. "I'll choose you something. Back in a minute." As she left, she touched Holly's shoulder, hoping to communicate something positive by the gesture, to effect some miraculous reconnection. It was oddly pleasurable standing in the queue for the kiosk. The boat felt steady and powerful beneath her feet, easing them closer to the left bank and into the narrower waters of the Île de la Cité. Then, just as she was about to be served, there was the sombre facade of Notre Dame itself. So soon, heralded by a rise in enthusiasm in the tone of the commentator and a story of a bell that rang in F sharp only on the most significant of occasions. Joanna wondered what those occasions might be, and then she fancied the bell sounding outright at that very moment, jolting Holly from her daze, exorcising her of her demons like something from a fairy tale. More and more she was thinking in terms of fairy tales, of miracles, as if ready now to give up on the possibility of human salvation for her daughter. Reaching its optimum vantage point of the great cathedral, the boat slowed and the photography became even more frenzied, only 1 or 2 of those on the lower deck remaining in their seats. Now Joanna pictured Holly as she almost certainly was, the only passenger aboard who was unmoved by the sight, perhaps not even glancing up at it, and she allowed herself, very briefly, to feel a little sad. "Qu'est-ce que vous voulez, madame?" "Oh, yes. Pardon." She realized she was being asked for her order, decided she'd get a biscuit for Mikey, and dithered for a moment as she tried to remember how to pronounce the word in French. She thought again.